So let's talk a little bit about where we are with regard to humanitarian aid, because of course the situation on the ground in Gaza continues to worsen as they, suffer through these siege conditions with little water, no electricity, little food, no fuel, etc. One of the goals that Biden claimed for his visit to Israel was to try to make some sort of a deal to secure some sort of corridor for humanitarian aid to pass into the Strip. Let's take a listen to a little bit of what he had to say.
To work this out, was he reluctant to do this?
He was completely cooperative.
Okay.
I've had a decent relationship with him. He's got his own problems on other issues. He's got his entire border. There's wars going on every side of this country, so he was. I've known him a while. He was, fair to say, very cooperative. I mean, there was no. I thought I'd have to spend more time trying to convince him on the timing, but he still stepped up, and as did Bibi, and I was, as you well, they probably told you, I was very blunt with the Israelis, because look, Israel has been badly victimized, but the truth is that if they have an opportunity to relieve suffering of people who have nowhere to go, they're going to be, it's what they should do. And if they don't, they'll be held accountable in ways that may be unfair, but that's what we do. And my point to everyone is, look, if you have an opportunity to alleviate the pain, you should do it, period. And if you don't, you're going to lose credibility worldwide.
So warning there that if they don't take steps to move aid and they have the ability to alleviate pain, they will lose credibility worldwide. Let me give you the details of the deal that was announced. Put this up on the screen. This is per Bibi Netanyahu's office. He says, in light of the overwhelming and vital support from the U.S. and in light of U.S. President Joe Biden's demand for basic humanitarian aid to be able to reach Gaza, Israel's war cabinet has decided the following. Number one, Israel will not allow any humanitarian aid to be delivered from its territory to the Gaza Strip until the hostages being held by terror groups are returned. Number two, Israel demands Red Cross be able to visit hostages and will work to mobilize international support for this demand. Number three, Israel will not, and this is the key one, will not thwart humanitarian supplies from reaching Gaza from Egypt as long as it is only food, water, and medicine for the civilian population in the Strip. Any supplies that reach Hamas will be thwarted by Israel. So this all comes back to that Rafah crossing, which has been bombed 4 times in recent days. So there is damage to the roads there. Even with them saying, okay, we're not going to thwart the aid coming through, it is a lot more complex than just, now those trucks can roll in. The roads actually have to be repaired before the trucks can even come in. The White House is indicating that could happen over today and perhaps aid could enter tomorrow. There are hundreds of trucks that are massed at that border. You also have all kinds of, foreign nationals, including American citizens that are massed at that border, and lots of Palestinians also who are right there because of promises that were made from the U.S. about, American citizens are going to be able to pass through. Well, that has not come to fruition whatsoever. But you at this point have hundreds of trucks that are lined up there waiting for the go-ahead and waiting for those roads to be fixed so that they could roll through. So far, they're saying they're only going to allow 20 trucks through. We're getting word from various authorities and, people who are focused on humanitarian aid that one of the critical needs here is water. There are reports and figures that people now only have 3 liters of clean water per person today. The absolute minimum that they should need, bare bones, is 15 liters for drinking, cooking, and basic hygiene. So there's a long way to go here before you actually have significant aid rolling into Gaza to help the people there who desperately, desperately need it. And Saagar, I've mentioned this before, but just so people remember what a dire situation this is with regard to water in particular. In the best of times, the majority of water in Gaza is not drinkable, not potable. So when you have this additional siege-like conditions, you've had hospital workers so desperate they're drinking IV bags. You've had reports of people drinking seawater, really having to limit and curtail their use use of water. There's also a lot of concerns about sewage treatment, and of course, without electricity, it's just a very dire situation. So hopefully this aid can roll through. But what they're discussing right now would be a real drop in the bucket of the overall need.
Yeah, the real thing, and yeah, I think, what is it? The number is 20 trucks of aid that I've seen floated from the Egyptians and from the U.S. My also major concern is, what about our citizens who are currently trapped inside of Gaza? As I mentioned, my friend Trey Yingst over at Fox News had an interview with an American woman inside of Gaza. Here's what she had to say.
How are you feeling right now, just as an American citizen?
I'm very terrified, you know. I'm an American citizen, and the embassy's not helping us to leave Gaza. We're trapped here. They start bombing at night, morning. We stay in one room, everyone, because in Gaza they don't have shelters under the ground like Israel. So no one has a safe spot at the house to stay in. So everyone stays in one room in case if they bomb the house you're in, everyone dies, you know?
Yeah, you can just hear the terror in her voice there, Krystal, what she's describing. And yeah, well, I mean, this woman is an American citizen, and we've gone to extraordinary lengths, correctly, to get our citizens out of Israel. But, you know, the Egyptian and the Israeli government have not been playing ball with us really at all. It's interesting, too. I've watched some of the mainstream commentary be like, hey, we give all this money to Egypt and Jordan, and they don't even meet with our president. It's disgraceful. And I'm like, oh, are we setting a standard where we give you a ton of money that maybe you should listen to something that we say and actually show us some respect? Because I would love for that standard to be applied to Saudi Arabia or Ukraine, maybe, a little country called Ukraine, that we've given more money than probably anyone else except for Israel, which also doesn't necessarily listen to us
but the thing
all
is,
the time.
When the aid has zero conditions, and when you're out there just saying like, yeah, we'll be with you no matter what, doesn't matter, then of course they're not. Like, there's no leverage being used here.
Same
so
with
while
it,
we
yeah, it's like
could
Ukraine.
have leverage in the situation, we choose impotence. It's all on our leaders. At the same time, you know, another thing I want to point out, the U.S. just vetoed a UN resolution that would have condemned all violence against civilians in Israel and in Gaza with Palestinians. They said it was too early to craft an appropriate Security Council response. And in particular, they took issue with the fact that there was not language in there underlying Israel's right to self-defense. So in terms of, you know, what's happening at the UN, for whatever it's worth, we vetoed that resolution, which would have condemned violence and called for humanitarian aid to Gaza and condemned violence on both the Israeli and the Palestinian side. So that's where we are with that. But, you know, with that audio that we just played of this American woman who is stuck in Gaza, think of how dark and chilling that is. There are no bomb shelters. So their strategy isn't like, here's how we're going to protect ourselves. It's, we're all going to be in one room so that if we get hit by missiles, we all die. That we all die. Like, that's how grim. That is how grim it is. And I also want to underscore, you know, Israel told 1.1 million Gazans to leave the northern part of Gaza and go to the southern part of Gaza, with the idea being like that's where safety would be. But that has not turned out to be the case whatsoever. There are plenty of airstrikes that are happening in southern Gaza as well. So people really feel like, and you've had apartment buildings hit. Let's put the hospital aside. We're going to get to that in just a minute. You've had apartment buildings hit. You've had residential houses leveled. You've had marketplaces hit, mosques. You've had, you know, other medical facilities. You've had schools that people had sought relief at. All of these places have been bombed and leveled. And so people really feel like there is just literally nowhere I could go right now and be safe. And they are completely trapped in Gaza, whether they want to be or not.
Yeah, I hope we get our people out of there.
Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.